Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Great Vow Zen Monastery. Welcome to our weekly Sunday public program. I hope you're doing well this morning. Welcome to online practitioners as well. Thank you for joining us. A few days ago, we started a meditation retreat called Sesshin here. Many people are here for that retreat, and we will continue on into this coming week. And right now we will follow our usual schedule of activities in the meditation hall here. We will have chanting service and then 2 periods of meditation, zazen, followed by a Dharma talk by one of the Sesshin leaders, Soten. Let us rise now to prepare for chanting service, standing behind our mats, clearing them of sitting supplies to prepare for 3 bows.
Page 8. Heart of Great Perfect Wisdom Sutra. Clearly so that all 5 aggregates are empty. Relieved all suffering, Shariputra form does not differ from emptiness. Emptiness does not differ from form. Form itself is emptiness. Emptiness itself forms sensations. Perceptions, formations, and consciousness are also like this. Shariputra, all dharmas are marked by emptiness. They neither arise nor cease, are neither defiled nor pure, neither increase nor decrease. Therefore, given emptiness, there is no form, no sensation, no perception, no formation, no consciousness, no eyes, no ears, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind, no sound, no smell, no taste, no touch, no object of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of mind consciousness. There is neither ignorance prajna paramita, and thus the mind is without hindrance. Without hindrance there is no fear, far beyond all inverted views. One realizes nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future rely on prajna paramita, and thereby attain unsurpassed, complete, perfect enlightenment. Therefore know the prajna paramita as the great miraculous mantra, the great bright mantra, the supreme mantra, the incomparable mantra, soul suffering and is true, not false. Therefore we proclaim the prajna paramita mantra, the mantra that says Gate, Gate, Para, Gate, Parasamgate, Bodhisvaha. Page 89. Mangala Sutta. Thus have I heard that the Blessed One was staying at Savatthi, residing at the Jeta's Grove in Anathapindika's park. Then in the dark of the night, a radiant deva illuminated all Jeta's Grove. She bowed down low before the Blessed One. Then standing to one side she said, Devas are concerned for happiness and ever long for peace. The same is true for humankind. What then are the highest blessings? Avoiding those of foolish ways, associating with the wise, and honoring those worthy of honor. These are the highest blessings. Living in places of suitable kinds, with the fruits of past good deeds, and guided by the rightful way. These are the highest blessings. Accomplished in learning and craftsman skills, with discipline highly trained, and speech that is true and pleasant to hear. These are the highest blessings. Providing for mother and father support, and cherishing family, ways of work that harm no being. These are the highest blessings. Giving with Dhamma in the heart, offering help to relatives and kin, acting in ways that leave no blame. These are the highest blessings. Steadfast in restraint, and shunning evil ways, avoiding intoxicants that dull the mind, evilness in all that arises. These are the highest blessings. Respectfulness and humble ways, contentment and gratitude, and hearing the Dhamma frequently taught. These are the highest blessings. Patience and willingness to accept one's faults, seeing venerated seekers of the truth, and sharing words of the Dhamma. These are the highest blessings. The holy life lived with ardent effort, seeing for oneself the noble truths, the realization of Nibbana. These unshaken the mind remains, beyond all sorrows, spotless, secure. These are the highest blessings. They who live by following this path know victory wherever they go, and every place for them is safe. These are the highest blessings. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here and now, in reciting the Heart of Great Perfect Wisdom Sutra and the Mangala Sutta. We dedicate their merits to Mahaprajna Paramita and to the great teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, to the ancestors in our lineage who have transmitted the light of the Dharma to this place and time, including the first woman ancestor, great teacher Mahapajapati, the first ancestor in India, great teacher Mahakasyapa, the first ancestor in China, great teacher Bodhidharma, the first ancestor in Japan, great teacher Eihei Dogen, the great women ancestors Zangchur and Ryonen, the first ancestor in America, great teacher Kon Taizan, to all enlightened women, to all those who have taught and manifested the truth. Page 28. May their vows be fully realized, and may we accomplish the enlightened way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time, honored ones, Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Mahaprajna. Page 106. Song of boundless compassion, hearing the cries of the world, awakens a Buddha right here. This Buddha, the source of compassion. This Buddha knows only compassion. Buddha, just compassion, Dharma, just compassion, Sangha, just compassion. Each passing moment the true heart arises. Time after time there is nothing but this. Hearing the cries of the world, awakens a Buddha right here. This Buddha, the source of compassion. This Buddha knows only compassion. Buddha, just compassion, Dharma, just compassion, Sangha, just compassion. Each passing moment the true heart arises. Time after time there is nothing but this. Hearing the cries of the world, awakens a Buddha right here. This Buddha, the source of compassion. This Buddha knows only compassion. Buddha, just compassion, Dharma, page 29. Jizo Shingon Om Ka Ka Kabi Sanma E Soaka 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 Absolute light, luminous throughout the whole universe, unfathomable excellence permeating everywhere. Whenever these devoted invocations are sent forth, they are perceived and subtly answered. We humbly request the guidance of the three treasures, Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. In chanting the chant of boundless compassion and the Jizo Shingon, we offer the merits to our living teachers of the Dharma, including His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Shoro Harada Roshi, Ajahn Sumedho, and Pema children. We also pray that the years of life be lengthened for chosen Roshi. May their vows be fully realized.
We also dedicate these merits to those who are ill or in distress, including Roshi Pat Enkyo O'Hara, Carol Senke Robertson, Jamie Onapangia, Corey Mullet, Blaney McDonough, Fran G.K. Eager, Allison Kemp, Abby Mushin Terrace, Jason Crowley, Molly Dennison, Dan McCarthy, Sarah Fletcher, Naomi Tasker, Dr. Wendy Comstock, Aaron Johnson, Eden Gray, Scott Passon, Shoan Victoria Austin, Rand Stark, Kathleen Yume Culver, Chris Way, Laurel Rogers, Tamara Yates, Cheryl Davidson, Leslie James, Eileen Milton, Evelyn Emerson, Sarah Tasker, Gerald Baugh, Azazel Harke, Andy Laramie, Diana Springerlund, Liam Way, Sally Whedon, Charlie Foote, Caroline Davis, Vince Antonio, Vanessa Fernando, Marina Gingrich, Dara Scalpino, Uncle Pete, Joe New, Brian Nix, Rosemary Weber, Reed Thompson, Rod Faghani, Lisa Hemmer, Edmund Rung, Milada Bippler, Ross Madison, Tom Dell, Animal Companion Cosima, to all people in war zones all over the world, all people harmed by white supremacy and systemic racism, all people, animals, and plants harmed by the effects of climate disruption, all refugees fleeing violence, famine, and persecution. Here you may add anyone, silently add anyone who is suffering. May they be free from suffering and serene through all their ills. We also pray that those who help to guide our cities, counties, states, and nations will be endowed with clear wisdom and compassion, including President Trump. May all countries be led with clarity and kindness. We also dedicate these merits to those in the transition of death, including Brandon Coyne, Trey Bodenhamer, Richard Stott, Herb Hinks, Annette Riss-Kelman, Robert Redford, Pastor E.D. Mondane, Jamie Diaz, Jane Goodall, Animal Companions Jasper Toots Maxwell, and Dexter. And here you may silently add anyone who has recently died. To all species made extinct by human activity, to all those who have died in human-made and natural disasters, in acts of terrorism, violence, and war, and to those who mourn their loss, May we and they be serene through these transitions.
May we aspire to turn the Dharma wheel unceasingly to free the world from every tragedy of violence, epidemic, and starvation, as we accomplish the awakened way together. All Buddhas throughout space and time, all honored ones, Bodhisattvas, Mahasattvas, wisdom beyond wisdom, Mahaprajna Paramita.
If this is your first time at the monastery, or if you are new to meditation or have not had face-to-face meditation instruction before, we will offer a meditation instruction session that will be offered by Bansho, one of the teachers of the monastery, and you can meet him in the hallway right after this. And for the rest of us, we will be seated for Zazen.
Sanzen with Zen teacher Jomon is now available for any ZCO members who are guests and are not part of the sesshin. So if anyone on the Buddha's left would like to come to Sanzen, please come now. And anyone on the Buddha's right may also come now.
The chant we're doing, Bringing Faith in Mind for the retreat, points to there is always something that's the same. Raining or not raining, chanting or not chanting, regardless of where we are. All of our practices are held in that truth. We're following the breath, we're investigating mu, we're sitting with boundless mind. What is it? It's always the same. Same in the in-breath, same in the out-breath. Same when we're walking, standing, sitting. Same when we're thinking or not thinking. This is something to be noticed, to be recognized, to be verified. So please be alert.
and third rows on both sides of the room turn toward the direction of the altar, and those in the second and fourth rows turn toward the doors. When you walk and reach the end of the fourth row, start walking to feed all the way into the first row. face the front for a Dharmatana.
I take refuge in Buddha, we take refuge in Dharma, and we take refuge in Sangha. Thanks for being here today, everybody. Those who are here today, those who are here this week, those who are here this year, this decade, etc. Thanks to those who built the place years ago. Thanks to all those who gave life to all of you and their ancestors. And while we're at it, thanks to all of our descendants as well, biological and spiritual. We all do things for reasons. Sometimes we understand those reasons, and sometimes we don't understand those reasons. And sometimes our understanding of those reasons is true, and sometimes it's false. At least that's how we frame it. And the spiritual question that each person carries, and maybe that each thing carries, I don't know. I don't know if it can accurately be put into words, but we do give it lots of words. The spiritual question. And two very simple ways that that question might manifest are what? What is the first basic question, what? And then, of course, the other side of that question is how? How? How do we, how does it? Not in a mechanistic kind of how does this work, but more like what's helpful? Why is this world so beautiful? What am I supposed to do about it? Given suffering, given joy, how do I respond? So what and how, the noun and the verb, the wisdom and the compassion. And there's lots of different ways to look at these questions. We can look at them from the outside. We can ask what and distance ourselves from that question, looking out at the stars and saying, what is that? And looking at the space between the stars and saying, what is that? And how do those things interact? How is it that in the vastness of what we can see in the night sky or through a telescope, there are these apparent things that have organizational patterns and relationships, and they come together and they form new things. And those new things interact with other new things, and they move towards things and away from others. And it's true on a cosmological level, we can observe it. It's true on a terrestrial level. Some things go up while others go down. Complex systems are formed. Forests and jungles and oceans and deserts, within which are all of these organisms that are moving towards each other and away from each other and producing new ones, creating deeper levels of diversity. What is all of that? And all those systems also exist right before the eye of our minds, even as we sit still. There's movement There's wanting, there's desire, there's grasping, there's aversion, there's stillness, there's pleasure, there's pain. There are mutually supportive desires. There are desires that conflict with each other, all within this ecosystem. It begins and ends right here. And so what is that? And in spirituality, the observation is direct. The way we answer the question, what in this case, in a way is by not answering the question. We could say observing, but observing implies subject and object, so we need a more intimate word. We are looking at the Affirming Faith and Mind poem during this session, which references all these systems that our mind comes up with, all these labels that our mind comes up with, the way in which the root of what we are blossoms and thorns and branches and weaves and complicates. And also takes care to make the point that the root of our being, as to be distinguished from its branches and brambles, is itself yet another way that brambling brambles. Forgive my ramble. To ground us in a translation of Affirming Faith and Mind that's different from the one we chant here. It's not difficult to discover your Buddha mind. We're referencing the question of what. It is not difficult to discover your Buddha mind. Just don't try to search for it. A statement referencing the how. Cease accepting and rejecting possible places where you think it can be found. And here we have an if-then statement. Cease accepting and rejecting possible places where you think it can be found, and it will appear before you. At least what grammatically appears to be an if-then statement. Be warned. The slightest exercise of preference will open a gulf as wide and deep as the space between heaven and earth. Referencing that preference is the birthplace of heaven and earth. If you want to encounter your Buddha mind, don't have opinions about anything. If you want to encounter your Buddha mind, don't have opinions about anything. Opinions produce arguments, and contentiousness is a disease of the mind. Plunge into its depths. And of course, part of the play as we read this is how dualities are affirmed and rejected at the same time. The reference to the Buddha mind affirms duality. Teaching us to plunge into our depths affirms duality. Stillness is deep. Stillness affirms duality. There's nothing profound in shallow waters. The Buddha mind is perfect and it encompasses the universe. It lacks nothing and has nothing in excess. If you think that you can choose between its parts, you'll miss its very essence. If you think you can choose between its parts, you'll miss its very essence. Don't cling to externals, the opposite things, the things that exist as relative. Accept them all impartially, and you won't have to waste time in pointless choosing. Accept them all impartially, and you won't have to waste time in pointless choosing. And the particular method that is prescribed during meditation and meditation retreat, as Zen style sesshin, in acceptance is the practice of meditation, which is the practice of feeding the root at the expense of the brambles, or simply and more usefully put, returning to a meditation object, becoming aware of a meditation object for a sustained period of time, committing to that and not being fooled by the pushes and pulls away from that, so that we may see more clearly, feel more clearly, and become in essence that which we already are, were not but for confusion, ignorance, and misseeing. So we have a goal in spiritual practice, and the goal for the method here is often described as absorption. And just like we have a goal, just like there's something we want to do or be doing for a reason, for a purpose, it appears that that's something we share with all things. On all levels, everything has some kind of direction. Now, whether other things internally really have wants in the same way that I do, I don't really know. And that goes for all of you also. But by appearances, all of you and everything else does have a direction, is going somewhere, is exerting a certain kind of preference, at least by appearances. And now every individual thing is inextricably in relationship with everything around it. And one way we might observe this, practice this, become this truth of non-self, of impermanence, is by breathing. On a micro level, the exhalation is a kind of death, surrender or release. And an inhalation is a springing into life again. And as an interesting meditation, one thing we can do, becoming intimate with this breathing process, and I'll start by describing a metaphor. Just like hunger may precede eating and satiation may follow eating, so too does the body, the physical body, have a basic craving to breathe and satiability upon having breathed. And if it's not physically apparent right now, all you have to do is stop breathing for really not that long, and it becomes quite apparent. But we can stabilize this sensation by really slowing the breath down. And noticing near the bottom of the breath the desire to bring in new breath, new life. That pull. That's what desire is. It's a pull. A towardsing, wanting. And as the breath then comes in, there's a kind of relaxation, a kind of satisfaction. Something got what it needed. And of course, then as the breath is held, there's something else that needs to happen. Because all things are in flux. Nothing is static. And this breath is one of our infinite relationships with the world around us, outside of us. And all things breathe. All systems breathe. Everything is in relationship with something outside of itself. It's part of the definition of a thing. Part of the definition of a thing is its non-thingness. That's what things are. They're non-things interacting with other non-things. And we can say that this breath happens rooted in a biological vow, to give it a name. Something wanting to continue, sustain life. Biological vows have other aspirations and goals, sexual, reproductive, to consume other minerals, water. And all of the biological organisms that make up this web of material coming and going is in relationship with the non-biological life, the non-biological world, because the biological world is made up of the innate. The non-living organisms and molecules. A plant rises from dirt and sunlight. It's consumed by an ungulate, which is consumed by a human, and they're all exchanging breath throughout that whole process. So, vow, it's an interesting word. Here we are at Great Vows and Monastery, manifesting our understanding of the how of that initial question. How do I help the Bodhisattva vow? And the Bodhisattva vow is a spiritual vow. There are spiritual vows, biological vows, apparently cosmological vows, which in some amazing way give rise to all of us. And this just means currents, energies, directions, movements. And all of that is still. All of that gives rise to goals. Dirt, sunlight, seed, from all external appearances, tries very, very hard to become a tree. If you put things on top of it, it will find a way to grow around. If you cut it at the wrong point, it'll start growing out the side. The roots will reach far and wide, growing onto things. I have an image with me of a wind-fallen tree I saw once with its roots up in the air, completely disconnected from the ground, and still the taproot came out from its center and went straight down to the earth. This tree was very much living and in the reclined Buddha pose. So vows give rise to goals. Vows give rise to goals. And because goals are discrete entities, they kind of bump into other goals, goals of other organisms. In our case, all of the goals of this one organism kind of bump into each other. And sometimes they support one another. If we look at a forest, the canopy all kind of competes to receive sunlight, while at the same time down below, the roots are all in relationship with one another, connected by mycelia, exchanging nutrients, even apparently favoring their own biological kin in the transfer of nutrients. Trees do, so they say. And in the pursuit of our goals, we manifest preferences. Because there's a wanting to manifest something, and a desire for conditions that will facilitate its manifestation. And our views as individuals are limited. You don't really see the whole picture. So preferences are partial and limited. Don't really know what's going on, how the preference and the goal and the vow really line up. If we saw two people fighting, we could say they're harming each other And we could also say they're waking each other up. Two different ways of seeing something. And from one perspective, the conflict within our own heart-mind is the conflict within our own heart-mind. And from another perspective, it's the process of our waking. So we have the goal this week to come to Sunday program. We have the goal this week to sit sesshin and have created, to the best of our abilities, a situation in which we can do that. And it has parameters. And there are instructions for our practice. And those basic instructions are to nurture clarity, stability, alertness, vividness, so that we can, using, I think, what was the first of Jogin's 3 ingredients for transcendent stew, you might have called it at one point in the talk. And that ingredient is to go beyond oneself. The importance of the desire, the willingness to go beyond oneself. The importance of each little piece in these vast networks of systems to have some sense that there might be something else going on in the universe besides, I'm trying to give a talk, but I also kind of need to pee. This view from the personal only perspective. And if we have faith that there might be something more than this personal individual perspective, then we have the willingness to no longer feed it, to no longer feed the personal perspective. And that's basically what the practice of meditation is. The practice of meditation is basically to stop thinking about ourselves. And there's different ways to stop doing that. Thinking about ourselves as creating what we know is founded upon what we believe to be true. And we all have a kernel of faith that what we believe to be true might not be, or at least not true in the way that we think it is. So we put ourselves up against the frontier, the horizon, the threshold of our knowing, where the known and the unknown meet each other, which is found right in this very breath, wherein we feel the impulse to move, maybe in this container, or to react, or to create, imagine. And instead of following that impulse, which is born from our understanding of things, we relax it, we release it. We use the phrase returning, not that the breath isn't already aware of itself, but it can get profoundly eclipsed by our habitual activities, so much so that we lose sight of it completely. So we return because whatever was going on, be it a thought formation, be it an emotional reaction, maybe is more emotional than fully formed as thought, be it a tightening impulse, might not be founded in truth. So we let that go so that something more true might emerge. In the introduction to this book called Trust in Mind, about the affirming faith in mind poem, Chosen Roshi gives a list of all of the things that we bring into being through our thinking. Fair, 34 pairs of opposites are used as examples of what not to think about. So this is a list of opposites that are described by the Faith Mind poem. So this is like the cliff notes of the Faith Mind poem. Love and hate, like and dislike, heaven and earth, for and against, lack and excess, accepting and rejecting, outer things and inner feelings, activity and passivity, one and the other, assertion and denial, emptiness and reality, this and that, right and wrong, dualities and one, object and subject, coarse and fine, easy and difficult, fast and slow, coming and going, free and in bondage, dislike and acceptance, wise and foolishness, one and many, rest and unrest, illusion and enlightenment, gain and loss, right and wrong, stationary and moving, movement and rest, self and other than self, large and small, being and non-being, one thing and all things, yesterday and tomorrow. So in order to practice in a satisfying way, we have to practice very continually. We have to practice completely continually. We have to completely combust into our practice moment by moment by moment without exception, despite the things that come our way, which may give us wants to do otherwise. And if we do this, we have laid the groundwork for a life lived without regret. That means fully living, fully being alive. I remember an interview that I watched with an East African marathoner who had lost a world marathon to an American. And this was the first time in 20 years that an American had won a world marathon. So as an East African country, losing after 20 years of sovereignty to an American was a very, very big deal emotionally. Very humbling, shameful in a way. And in the interview with this runner who took second, he very simply said, "I guess God wanted me to take second place today." And I think a comment like that can only come from a true confidence that we really have given our all, such that we played our part and the remainder was up to grace. If we haven't really given our all, I don't know if we can say that with confidence. So in Sesshin, it is essential that through our meditation practice, we really maintain ourselves up against the threshold of our knowing, without believing what we believe to be true, the way things are, what the consequences are going to be, what that thing I did meant. All that has to go. And we no longer feed their seeds. There is a deeply held belief or superstition that there are markers for the wrong way to go and the right way to go. This is part of our belief system. It has to do with the goals that we imagine and then compare ourselves to. A deeply held belief that there are markers for what is the right way to go, what is the wrong way to go, what is good, what is bad. And these markers are pointed out by our minds. This is very deeply ingrained. In the Old Testament, there's the mark of Cain, right? A whole lineage of people that all have the mark of Cain, which is the people who have gone wrong. In the Peruvian Amazon, there's a jungle spirit that's always deceiving people. And the way you can recognize the jungle spirit is one of their legs doesn't look right. There's a belief that we should know when this is wrong. And this can be the seed for dogmatism and bigotry. Zazen is a path of surrendering our felt sense of what this is supposed to be like. Releasing that. The felt sense of releasing what we feel like, how we feel like this should go or be. Also, releasing our felt sense of this is how it should be going. This is right, this is not right. Both projections. And the process of releasing our ingrained expectations inherently hurts, I think, or at least is uncomfortable. Like a snake, why else would it kick off its old skin if it didn't feel right? It's what motivates the path, the feeling of So suffering is part of the picture, and it's a blessing. Sometimes, to have faith in what's true is to stand shoulder deep in discomfort without giving rise to the thought that it should be any other way. We all have deep vows. That's why we're alive. Apparently, the entire universe has given birth to each one of us. And someday, it will give us death. Our lives are inevitably and inextricably related to all things outside of it, mostly in ways we will never observe or understand. And this is inherently so. And part of releasing preference, and I use that word because that's the word that we use in our translation of the Affirming Faith in Mind poem. The great weight is not difficult for those who do not pick and choose. When preferences are cast aside, the way stands clear and undisguised. Is coming in contact with our greater being. If each of our fingers could cognize individually, the thumb and the index would kind of debate about who's the boss. The middle finger would have an anger problem. The ring finger would be kind of aloof, and the pinky insecure. But you can imagine if one of them fell asleep one day, and then deep in sleep, there was this immense power, strength, thumping, life-giving, generating. And then that finger awoke and recognized that its own subtle blood pulsing that it could feel was somehow the same as that power, that powerful being in that dream. And that maybe there was something driving it. And if it could fully awaken to that, the kinds of thoughts and preferences that it would have would change from, let me compare myself to these other fingers, to how do I pick up this apple to serve this body? So by surrendering our perspectives, desires, personal desires, views through the practice of meditation, zazen, in a way, the surface level fluctuations that we have trying to serve the person calm down and become in accordance with something larger, like an ocean. All these hectic waves on top, bashing against each other. And yet, in the depths below, there still are these currents that have a direction. And these hectic waves are a part of those currents. We can become in touch with that. And when we're in touch with our depths, our superficiality arises in accordance. Our lives are related to all things in ways we will never understand or observe. And coming into our truer, felt sense of being is a vulnerable experience. And it's an enlivening experience. Each person has a deep and probably simple purpose inextricably woven into the fact of their existence, even if it's just the exchange of this breath. And we look at the outer world and how other beings interact and see the exchange of nutrients as sufficient explanation for the fact, for the reason for their existence, the purpose for their place in the life pattern was the phrase that a peace pilgrim used. And maybe this breath is just ours. We are gifted suffering to show us direction. We have to realize ourselves more than we want anything else. It's like there are horizontal directions and vertical directions. And the path of the vertical direction is realized when the horizontal directions are surrendered. It's just a model. It's just a model. But we can embody that pursuit of our root with our zazen by devotion to what we can vividly recognize as true and here, beyond cognition, imagination, even recognition. And of course that gets up and walks around. Our life, as we experience it, is one undivided whole, but through one undivided whole. But through our fear and delusions, we parcel it up into thises and that's, good parts and bad parts, all those, that list that Chosen wrote, all the thises and that's from the Affirming Faith and Mind poem. Through our fears and delusions, we parcel our life out into thises and that's. And to commit to not doing that is to commit to living from an anchor of non-fear. And because fear is the energy that fills the gap of separation. With nothing to attain, and of course attainment is dependent upon preference. With nothing to attain, a bodhisattva relies on prajna paramita, and thus the mind is without hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. The Heart Sutra equates non-attainment, equates non-preference with non-fear. And living without preference is to not fear outcomes. To practice not fearing outcomes requires a willingness to quiver and shake from time to time, because we do fear outcomes, and we feel that fear, but practice not imagining what we think is going to be the result of this, because in reality we don't know. Nor do we know this experience is a problem. Hogan emphasized the importance of courage this morning. And courage is the willingness to be afraid. It is really cool and equally imperative that we have this opportunity to practice coming into and coming to know ourselves, resolving or being in wholehearted relationship with these fundamental questions. What and how can I help? So please don't make up any answers.
Chant cards beneath your mat. For great Bodhisattva vows, beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. The Buddha way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it.
Thank you, Soten. This concludes the formal schedule for public program. Next, we will chant our noon chanting service. Affirming Faith in Mind will be that chant. So if you are a guest today, feel free to stay for that. And otherwise, looking forward to practice with you all perhaps next Sunday. Thank you for online practitioners' presence as well.